We'll go ahead and get started. My name is Selena Barajas. I am the Arizona Program Manager with Mountain Mamas. If you're not familiar with Mountain Mamas is a grassroots nonprofit. We're a national nonprofit based in Montana, Colorado, and Arizona. We bring mamas and caregivers together to advocate for clean air, water, and public lands. This is a very exciting moment for our Arizona Mountain Mamas because this is our first ever Lunch and Learn. So I want to give you all a round of applause for joining us today. I am very excited to have this opportunity to create a time and space with you all to provide some meaningful conversations around energy, community health, and I want to continue this, so I would appreciate any feedback that you all have, any ideas. One of our components here with Arizona Mountain Mamas is around clean energy and healthcare. And me, as a mom of two daughters, I felt the need to bring more folks into our Mountain Mama space, folks that are already doing the work here in Arizona, and folks that inspire me. And I am excited to share this first presenter and group, the Arizona Youth Climate Coalition, as our first Lunch and Learn presenter. A little back story, I've been following this group for quite some time now, specifically Ojas, who's going to be our presenter. I don't know if you remember, Ojas, but when we went from Tucson to Phoenix for Environmental Day, I was kind of like in awe of you because I've seen you out in media and I've read a lot of articles about the great work that you're doing. And as a TUSD mom, I'm so proud of the work that you're doing to pave the path for our families, and also for our future generation. I'm excited for my daughter to join the Arizona Youth Climate Coalition one day. And I'm so thankful that you're here with us. For those of you who don't know our presenter, I'm going to share a little bit because he is an all-star and I'm just so excited that you're here with us. Ojas Sanghai is a senior at the University of Arizona, majoring in computer science with a minor in future Earth resilience. He serves as the Tucson City co-lead of the Arizona Youth Climate Coalition, a collaborative youth-led organization fighting for climate justice across the Grand Canyon state. In this role, he has helped drive local and state policy change. He is also the VP of U of A Divest, pushing for the university to divest from fossil fuels, and also helps develop U of A's climate policy action plan. Appointed to the City Commission on Climate, Energy, and Sustainability, Ojas helped shape Tucson's climate strategy. He is currently conducting right now, in this time and space, conducting research at MIT through the Summer Research Program, focusing on AI applications for grid modernization and clean energy. And you're only 20, right? 20 years old. You provide, again, so much inspiration for me personally, but I know for our Tucson and our state community. I'm excited to hear you present to us today. And with that, I'll pass on the mic to you.
Well, hello. Thank you so much for that amazing introduction, Selena, and thank you so much for having me here. Super excited to be here. Everyone, my name is Ojas, Tucson co-lead of AZYCC. You've heard everything about me, so I'm just going to get started and start talking about our work with the Tucson Unified School District, TUSD, and the climate action resolution that we were able to get them to adopt. So introduction to us. You heard about me. Owen is the other Tucson co-lead of AZYCC. He was hoping to make it today, but unfortunately could not. He's working on a congressional campaign, and he's out touring right now in like Ajo. So, but he's with us in spirit, and I'll be talking about him a little bit later. So, first off, what is AZYCC? Statewide, completely youth-led group of climate activists. We do everything from direct aid direct action to mutual aid to policy and lobbying. We're roughly ages 13 to 22. And we pride ourselves in the fact that there's no adults involved in the leadership of our group. We have around 80 members, around 30 or so in Tucson, across high school and college. In the Tucson team, I'm pretty much the only college student. Most of our members are in high school. And we're organized horizontally where we have both city teams and city leads, and then we also have policy teams and finance, and those have their own leads, and you can be in both at the same time. And some history of kind of what we've done in the past. Um, in 2020, one of the big things we did was lobby the Tucson Mayor and Council to declare a climate emergency. We were involved in the creation of the climate action plan, of an EV action plan. In 2023, we organized a big climate strike and climate summit. This was statewide, so both in Tucson and in Phoenix. And then the climate summit was in Tucson, and it had people from representing local school boards, the local city, statewide representatives, and even people from Raul Grijalva's office to represent the more federal look at climate policy. So onto the resolution itself. Um, and just some context of what this resolution is, I guess before I start talking about it. In 2024, October 2024, after a 16-month process, AYCC got the TUSD to adopt a climate action resolution that's the most comprehensive school climate action resolution in the entire country. It commits the whole district to net zero emissions across all three scopes of emissions by 2040. And we didn't stop there. We kept on engagement. We kept on engaging with them to ensure that they actually went ahead and implemented the resolution. And back in May, we had another big win just 1 month ago when TUSD voted to fund the creation of a climate action plan with $250,000. And so we're really seeing them putting their money where their mouth is and moving forward with climate action. So a bit on this resolution and how we got them to adopt this. It started back in summer 2023. I kind of got this idea of like, hey, let's try and get TUSD to adopt a climate policy. We reached out to board members and we saw some really strong support from 3 of the board members out of 5. We actually came to the first 2 with a draft of an electrification resolution. We said, hey, what do you think about this? Both of them were like, yeah, that's cool, we like it. And then the third board member, Dr. Ravi Shah, he was like, this is awesome. Let's do even more. Like, let's go beyond just electrifying buses and buildings, and let's talk about food and water and waste. We were like, hell yeah, let's do that. Um, so we took a very long time to research and develop that kind of a comprehensive climate action resolution. And as you can see, that stretched for almost a year from summer to April. After that, we went through a first read. We went through a lot of revision, a lot of input, a lot of outreach. And October 24th, we got them to adopt it. So just to back up again a little bit further and give some more context on why and how we decided to do this, there were a couple of reasons. One of the big pieces is that TUSD, or sorry, ADYCC was involved with climate advocacy in Tucson and in Pima County before this. So we helped make Tucson's climate action plan, helped make the county's climate action plan, and had done various lobbying for and against certain propositions in the city of Tucson. And I got a scholarship from the local Tucson chapter of Citizens Climate Lobby to go to the conference in DC and learn about climate action there. And I saw people there working on school climate action. And seeing those people got me thinking, okay, like these people have had some success on school stuff. Like maybe I can do this back home in Tucson as well. And I come home and I continue to look into this, and I see that there's coverage about it nationally as school does a major way to do climate action, and there's resources on this as well from Rewiring America and NBI. And I was like, okay, like this is something that's really important and that people across the country can care about. And I went to high school in TUSD, and I saw that there was really immense potential for climate action in TUSD because I don't know why it says 98,000 schools. They have 85 schools um, and 40,000 students and millions of tons of emissions. And I knew that as an avenue, like being able to curb that to zero would be a major moment in the city of Tucson's climate scene and in just the climate fight in general. So Dr. Ravi Shah was a very, very big champion of this. And again, he was the one who really pushed us to think beyond electrification and think about challenging the district to do even more. And even though AZYCC is a completely youth-led org, we do a lot of intergenerational work. Climate action has to be a movement across generations. So we were pushed to expand this by Dr. Shah. Councilmember Kevin Dahl helped put us in touch with these board members, and we had adults per se help us a lot throughout the entire process with outreach, with developing it, with input and advice on it, in every aspect of it. So a bit more on the resolution itself. It's structured in kind of 5 parts. The first is climate mitigation, so getting our emissions to zero. This we organize in 3 scopes, which is like a international framework for how do we categorize climate emissions. The first is direct emissions, so stuff from your buildings, stuff from your school buses. The second is indirect emissions. So what are the emissions when you buy energy from TEP, Tucson Electric Power? And for context, TEP is like 80% coal and gas. So a lot of emissions are scope 2. And scope 3 is the most indirect. It's everything up and down the supply chain. So when I buy a wooden table, what are the emissions generated from cutting down a tree and transporting it and refining it into a table? When we buy food, what are the emissions of farming it? And when we throw away the food, what are the emissions when it decomposes in a landfill and it creates methane? So the district committed to halving those emissions by 2030 and getting to net zero across all of them by 2040. And that scope 3 commitment is what makes this the most comprehensive resolution in the entire country. The second piece of this is climate adaptation. So as it's getting increasingly hot, how do we adapt to this new climate? How do we make sure the school's ready for it and preparing the students for it? And then we also had really important pieces in there around climate education, and then funding and equity. Through this process, we conducted a lot of outreach. So we reached out to a lot of national groups. Um, these groups helped take us on the right path. They helped give us a lot of input on like what specific policy words do we use. We even got in a meeting once with the White House Office of Climate Policy back in the day, and they were obviously super excited about it. But we also had a lot of local outreach, and I think that's probably more important than the national groups, because we made sure that we really wanted to reflect the priorities of local communities in this resolution. Um, and so that manifested itself not just in climate change experts and local companies, but also across the community and across students. When we showed up to the board meeting in October to lobby for its passage, we had dozens of students show up, and we heard board members say that this was the most students they had ever seen show up to a board meeting. We also wrote and circulated a community letter of support, signed by, as you can see, elected officials, organizations, and individuals and students. And we had over 160 signatories on that letter. And so we really demonstrated this was grounded in community and based in community. It wasn't just a bunch of high schoolers and a college student trying to like pass this policy for college applications. It was a community-wide mandate. Obviously, there were a lot of obstacles in the 16 months process. Um, and one of our goals here post passage is to have this be shared as a lesson and as a guide for other groups trying to do similar work. And so we want to be very transparent and open about like what didn't work for us, and hopefully others can make sure they don't fall into those same pitfalls. One of the biggest problems was doing the research, as you can probably tell from the fact that it took so long from summer 2023 to April 2024. So the policy research was very overwhelming, and we approached it in like a very um, aggregated format of like, let's research electrification and how to do that. And that's kind of hard. Like, how do you, as a 17-year-old, understand how do you research, how do you read policy documents on electrification, understand that, and also understand enough about schools to translate that policy language over to be applicable to schools. So we should have done a better job at that. Another big issue was board logistics. So the fact that it goes through a first read, then it goes through a second read, and has to be put into a certain template. There's hurdles we have to jump through with staff members. We should have clarified all of those up front, and we really didn't. And I think that um, delayed the process by a bit. So where are we at with this right now? The district just awarded that $250,000 RFP that I mentioned, and a consultant is now developing a climate action plan to implement this resolution. That'll be probably another around 16-month process to get a lot of stakeholder engagement to create that plan. But we're not waiting. Owen is on the TUSD Bond Oversight Committee. So for some context, in November of 2023, um, voters in the district, the TUSD district, um, approved a $480 million bond for capital improvements. And so a lot of that is like transportation and HVAC and stuff. And as luck has it, those are the exact sorts of improvements we need to make to reduce emissions in schools. And so when if he was here, he can talk about an example he's been talking about recently, where there was a contractor saying like, I want to bid on this whatever amount of money for an HVAC system, and in their proposal, they're talking about how this new HVAC system is compliant with the climate action policy that we wrote and that we got passed. And so we're already seeing this money, this $500 million, being deployed to begin implementation of this resolution. And so the development of the plan will be in tandem with concurrent implementation of the resolution. And the other big thing, factor of implementation, again, is what I mentioned around press and outreach to inspire other people. So we're working on a toolkit, a very detailed toolkit that tells our story start to finish. Here's exactly what we did, step by step, month by month. Here's who we talked to. Here are the 20 different versions of the resolution that we made over the 16 months. Here's what we did right. Again, perhaps more importantly, here's what we did wrong, and here's what we think you should do. And we're hoping that once we make that, we can share that out and have that be a guide for other students across the country to follow. And the Phoenix chapter is already working on their own climate action resolution initiative, and we've been talking to groups in like Florida and in California, trying to do similar work, and we're seeing that they're leaving a little bit more inspired than they were after meeting us and like getting to hear about our story. And so we're hoping to build that momentum and keep that going. Um, One of the most important things that we emphasize is that you have to go and take action. Um, so that takes you to our website, and you can learn more about the resolution and about what we do. And if you're a youth in Arizona, we'd love you to join us. And if not, then you can always just stay in touch in whichever way, however you want that to happen. So those are our emails, and again, that's our website. And I wanted to keep the presentation kind of short to have some time for questions. So thanks so much.
That was amazing. We already have some questions in the chat. If you have any questions, feel free to insert them here in our chat or in the Q&A box. But I love just hearing everything. I don't want to ask any questions because I do want to allow folks to chime in. But before we get started, I want to give a shout out to your mom, Miss Sangi, who I believe is in this room too. Just thank you for supporting, your son and being here with us. You're officially a mountain mama. I know I've been trying to recruit you to come and join us, so I'm glad to see you here, and I hope to meet you in person soon. So I'll go ahead and start off with the first Q&A. The first question I see here is, how do you suggest getting teens interested in writing and starting to feel that they have something to say? How do we motivate more youth to use their time to be involved and not think it's boring, or for them to think that with this current administration that nothing can be furthered or made better?
It's a really good question. Um, this takes me back to like a concept that I learned about at the Green Schools Conference about this idea of environmental identity. Um, so I'm finding my notes here. This person who works at NOAA and does like climate education stuff kind of said that there's four phases of environmental identity. First is trust in nature. The second is independent exploration. The third is environmental competence, and the fourth is environmental action. And what you kind of said is that you can't skip any of these steps. And if you don't think that the environment and nature is important, then why would you spend a bunch of time trying to take action to protect it and to save it? And so I think, at a younger level, or when you're younger, you have to start with getting them and teaching them about the environment. And this doesn't have to be like environment is important. It can be like taking them to hikes and like doing whatever and showing that we're part of a broader natural ecosystem. And I think past that, then you can begin to move them into like encouraging them to be advocates and make feel, trying to impart a sense of empowerment in their day-to-day life. Um, and to their point on the current administration and climate action, it's terrible, and I think it's really really important to like stay informed of what's going on. But it's also really important to know that yeah, at the federal level, it's going to be bad for at least 4 more years, but we can still make progress at the local level, and we can't all just like stop and give up for 4 years and then come back and restart. We have to keep this work going. And we passed our resolution 1 week before Trump was elected, and we got $250,000 passed in climate funding in May, well into Trump's administration. And so at the local level, change is still possible, and we need people to keep on working on this no matter what's happening at the federal level.
Well, thank you for that. And yeah, for those that are in the audience, if you have any children that would want to participate with the AZ Youth Climate Coalition, I'd highly encourage for you all to reach out. And for, the moms, caregivers in here, while
Mm.
the young ones are attending those meetings, please come and join us here with Mountain Mamas so we could also support, more action and getting you all involved as well. Let me read another question. We have some good questions here. Luis said, Ojas, that sounds like an awesome and meaningful effort toward environmental advocacy. Kudos. And then this kind of leads into what you're saying, local level. What can we do locally? Micro efforts, for example, in our small youth groups on Sundays. Is there any way we could join your efforts, either by serving or advocating in person or online? Luis leads a small group of youth and would love to learn more about practical ways we can get involved, especially on the east side of Tucson. And you might have met Luis also on that caravan for during Environmental Day to the state capitol. So let me know if you
Okay.
want me to repeat that or anything.
Yeah, no, that's awesome to hear. Well, first off, like definitely like email me and reach out. Second of all, like, you got young people, then like, we can absorb them into AZYCC, or you guys can just like work with us in AZYCC. We do all sorts of stuff throughout Tucson, and a lot of it is, like we have certain issues that we organize around. But if you want to do your own thing, like as a person of AZYCC or as like someone affiliated or working with us, then you can just like go ahead and do it. I was just in AZYCC and I was like, I want to do this TUSD thing, and I started doing it. Um, so we have like things we're working on and like initiatives we want to organize around. We would love to get you involved in that. We're always looking for people to like join and like help out. Or if you want to do, keep on doing the things that you're doing and want us to support you, we'd love to do that as well. So just email and reach out. And we also have like meetings that we organize at least like twice a month for a Tucson team. So reach out. We'd love to work with you.
Awesome. And I'll make sure to, when we're done, wrapping this up, I'll provide your contact information with everybody that registered to this session. Another question, are there any specific schools within TUSD that have a strong climate coalition / environmental club or that are represented well in your coalition? This question is actually from Ana Costa. She said, we are an environmental education group that offers on-site school programs and would love to connect with some of them. And I actually met Ana at my daughter's TUSD school. So I know she's very active in our local schools here in TUSD.
Amazing. I would say in TUSD, University High School is probably has the most robust climate groups and also is the most 12 represented in AYCC. Owen is the other to the other Tucson co-lead, is also a senior at University High School, starting senior year this year, and he runs UHS's. It's called Climate Action Union Club. So I can give you his email, and I can give you my email, and I can put you in touch with him. But yeah, that sounds great. Love to do that. Love to do that with you.
And yeah, I didn't mention, but Anna works for Pima County, so broad
So
region here. Paloma asked how, and Paloma is a part of our Clean Energy Healthcare Professionals group, works with Elders Climate Action. How can Elders support and partner with our youth to do the climate work together? What can we do to help us be more approachable and collectible or, oh, sorry, collaborative in the eyes of young people?
so first off, like having older people work with younger people is super important. Like I kind of mentioned, like all of our work has to be intergenerational, and there's no way to do it without it. Um, I think if you're someone like in power per se in an older person, and I think regardless, I guess the one of the most important things to do is to empower young people. At least for I, like, when I got into this, I really got into it thinking that, I am like a 17-year-old. Why would anyone kind of care about what I have to say, and like what kind of power or influence would I ever wield? Um, and something that I think really shaped me and like enabled me to do this work is that people, when I get into these circles of climate stuff, and there's like, older people that have done this for decades, they still respect me and they still care about me. And whenever I'm offering my opinion, then they take that very seriously. And so I think placing respect on younger people, empowering them, making them know that their opinion is valued. Um, and if you're like, able to, then like giving them power, giving them like voting power or something is probably the best way to go. Like I was appointed by Kevin Dahl onto the city's climate change commission, and I got my own like independent voting power to like push some agenda on that commission. Working with Dr. Ravi Shah, he gave us a lot of latitude and power to like set the agenda on what is going into this resolution, and he will support us in that work. And so giving them independence and empowerment, I think is the best way to like support youth already doing the work, and help bring in you youth into this movement.
Great. We have a couple more questions. So for those that are in the audience, if you want to ask a question, now's the time. The question, I'm going to combine it. How can policies be suggested at the high school level to maintain organic trash on campus, or increasing the temperature of classrooms by 1 or 2 degrees, resulting in saving emissions, etc.? And who would students direct these policy requests?
Good questions. And I like how specific they are. Um, in like the current immediate framework, I think you can maybe send those requests to like at your high school. But I think also in this upcoming 16-month process of making a climate action plan, this is the perfect avenue to like get these sorts of broader ideas um, into writing that TUSD is going to implement. One of the big things that's in the resolution is reducing waste by certain percent, by like 2030 and 2040, and better disposal of organic waste and composting is a really big part of that. And so we're going to like broadcast stuff out when um, the consultants organizes community outreach and stakeholder input sessions. Um, but I think these sorts of strategies of like better doing composting, having better energy management techniques to reduce our energy usage is all going to be a really important part of that. Um, so I will write those down actually, and I'll also encourage you to like be on the lookout for um, the outreach sessions that the consultant will do for the climate action plan.
Great, because I was gonna ask, as we kind of like start wrapping this up, I was gonna ask if there's any ways that we mountain mamas or just folks in this room can help amplify the work that you're doing. If there's any event coming up, or any call to action, any petitions, anything that we could help support. If you want to share that now, or if you want to send to me and I could email that out.
Nothing specific comes to mind right now of any sort of public initiatives or events. If you're a young person, then like joining the YCC, we'd love to have you. Um, and if not, then check out our website, check out our Instagram, um, stay in touch. We'll be very active. We'll be developing and launching a toolkit. We'll be telling people about when these TUSD outreach sessions have. And the most valuable thing that we can get from you guys is, and from everyone, is just continued engagement and action on climate. And we just want to be in this movement with you guys together.
Awesome. Okay, we actually have a couple more questions. Here,
Great.
is the language of the resolution on your website? And this is also coming from a member of our Clean Energy Healthcare Professionals. Eve, thank you for that question.
It is. And it's also excitingly on TUSD's website. So let me actually just send that to you right now. I'll put it in the chat.
Awesome.
Or I don't know if I can send a chat to everyone, but I'll put it
Oh yeah, we
in the
could see it.
host and panelist chat and you can resend it maybe.
Yes. Okay, we'll resend that.
Okay,
Um,
sweet.
one more question, or if you all have a couple more questions, would you be willing to come to Tucson High and share a presentation, a talk with the group? How
We
can,
would love to.
yes, okay.
That sounds awesome. Yeah. I am in out of town this summer. So if it's in the summer, probably not, but Owen is in town. And so you can do that
Okay, or hopefully in the fall. We do start
in the
school
fall.
pretty early here in Tucson. I believe it's August. I'm looking at my calendar, August 2nd or August 3rd.
Mm.
It's, somebody, I went to a presentation yesterday and they said, this is the hottest, every summer is getting hotter and hotter, but this is actually the coolest summer that we're experiencing right now. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. Because yeah, it's true. And these our kids are entering the schools in such a hot time of the year. So the work that you're doing is so meaningful, and I just want to give you again kudos and praise. Um, you've inspired us here at Mountain Mamas. You've inspired a lot of us families and mothers and caregivers to read more about the work that you're doing, hear more, and just to get involved. And again, I'm really thankful that you are our first presenter to kick us off on our Lunch and Learn series. If there's anything you want to share before I go ahead and share the upcoming dates to you all, if there's anything you want to close out.
Um, we're just super thankful to be here. Thank you again for having me. And again, like reach out. We'd love to work with you guys and we'd love to stay in touch and keep this climate momentum going in Tucson and in Arizona, the country and the world.
Yes, no, I'm looking forward to so many more conversations. Okay, we actually do we have time for a couple more? I know we want to wrap it up maybe like in
Sure.
minutes. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So we had another question. I just wanted to thank you for sharing your time and eloquent ways of expressing yourself. Your enthusiasm brightens my spirit and deepens my motivation to stay engaged. Our youth is one of our greatest resource. Thank you, Ojas, and your mom. This is from Katie.
Thank you so much, Katie.
And I have a question here from Berlin, who's actually my family, my cousin. Can I pass your info along to Child and Family Resources? I am a prevention specialist, facilitator for our youth mental health first aid. I think this coalition is just what our Arizona youth needs. Thank you.
Yeah, would love to. Go ahead.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to share just because I do feel really inspired from everybody's questions and from your presentation. This was awesome. I was really looking forward to this lunch and learn. And I hope you all were looking forward to this too. I hope you all enjoyed your lunch if you finished your lunch during this presentation. But if you would like to stay connected with Mountain Mamas and attend future lunch and learn, these are our sessions. Our next one is coming up July 30th. This one will most likely be in person, and I'm hoping that lunch will be provided. So stay tuned. And then we are going to have a hybrid one at the University of Arizona. And if you can't meet on campus but would want to join us online, you're more than welcome to do that. But if you if you're not connected to us via social media, please follow us on Instagram, on Facebook, Arizona Mountain Mamas. I have all of your email addresses, so now I'll go ahead and enter that into our listserv so you could receive our monthly updates, our highlights, and for future presentations like this. And I just want to thank you again, Ojas, for spending time with us. I know you're busy at MIT. I know you're doing a lot of research that isn't just going to benefit here our local Tucson community, but it's also benefiting us here statewide, nationally. And I'm just so proud of the work you're doing, and as well as the Arizona Youth Climate Coalition group members. For those that aren't here, thank you all, because I feel very thankful as a TUSD mom, as someone that went through our public schools here in Tucson, located in some of the hottest areas of town. It just brings me a lot of hope that our schools and our families are gonna get involved. Like Katie said, this brought a lot of inspiration for me today. And if anyone has anything else to share, please stay in touch with Mountain Mamas. Please reach out to me directly. If you would like to present at one of our future Lunch and Learns, this platform's open to you as well. With that, I would just like to say thank you all again, and have a safe, cool day. Stay hydrated, and just make sure to follow their journey as well. Thank you all.
Thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you.